Hello, everybody. 5 years ago, it seemed that the if you brew it, they will come mentality was pretty common in craft beer. That was when there was only 5,000 breweries, and now we're only at 9,000. And the importance of creating experiences is necessary for success. Today, we're going to talk about the why and the how behind transforming your brewery into a destination. But first, I'd like to meet everybody who's joining me today. And Wes, because you are to the right of me, you get to go first.
All right. Thanks for having us, Andrew. So
Appreciate you being here.
my name is Wes Clark. I'm the Chief of Staff over at Harvest Host. Harvest Host is a one-of-a-kind RV membership program that connects RV travelers with small businesses across the country, including close to 400 or 500 breweries where folks can stay overnight in exchange for patronizing the business. So excited to tell folks more about that today and a cool way to diversify your brewery's revenue.
And Wes, why are you passionate about helping create experiences?
We love small businesses. We are a small business, and we love helping other small businesses. That's reason one. And two, working in the RV category, it's just such a unique way to travel the country to actually experience America and have that iconic road trip rather than bouncing from campground to campground. Stay at a brewery, stay at a winery, stay at a working farm. Such a super cool way to see the country, and our members love it. Our hosts love it, and excited to dive into that.
And is it fair to assume you have an RV yourself?
I actually don't. I've got two small children, which prevent me from doing that as much as I would like. But hit the road every now and then when I can get away from home, and love staying at all our locations.
Awesome. I have a 3-year-old, so I completely understand.
Yes.
Now, Jennifer, you are with Jester King. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I sit on the leadership team at Jester King. My technical title is actually Innkeeper, which most people have never heard. But I handle all of our lodging and hospitality for the brewery. We've been around for going on about 10, 11 years now. And we actually won gold at the World Beer Cup this year for our fruited farmhouse beer. So
congratulations.
Thank you. So we're a little bit, I wouldn't call us a grown-up brewery, but we're kind of on the way.
Now, looking at Jester King, obviously you have a lot of recognition for the great beer that you make, but when did becoming a destination become part of the experience you wanted to create as part of the brand?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've always had a focus on conservancy of the land and sustainability. So when we first started, kind of imagined our space as, this nature's Disneyland all by itself. But COVID actually gave us a lot of really great opportunities to start expanding our experiences. We're all outdoors, so even in the height of the pandemic, people were still able to, once we were able to reopen, we were able to have people come in and be safe. So that opened up a lot of avenues for us to be able to expand on our experiences.
And did I hear that your venue is 100% outdoors?
It is, yeah. So we have, obviously misters, sunshades. We do our best to keep everyone comfortable in the Texas summer. But yes, other than the brew house itself, everything is outdoors, and even our brew house is actually kind of indoor-outdoor.
Awesome! I'm excited to learn more today. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Sash, you're up. What do you do at Harvest Host?
Yeah, so I work as the host partnerships coordinator. So I work with a lot of state brewery guilds or wine growers associations, agritourism associations, bigger groups who are able to go out and share with their members about the opportunity to become a host. So on my day-to-day, I'm just looking for those connections where we can go out and connect with more small businesses. Since we work with so many industries, I get to work with a lot of partners. So love to be here in the craft brewing space, of course, but I do get to work with lots of cool folks along the way.
And you don't have to say it, but craft beer is obviously your favorite industry, right?
It is my favorite for sure.
I love it. Scott, your turn. And I have to say it, you're on mute, Scott. But you're also in North Carolina, which isn't terribly too far from me. I think everybody here is on the East Coast, and this doesn't always happen.
Yep. Yes. So Scott Cavendish Brewing Company in Gastonia, North Carolina, outside of Charlotte. And we're a micro brewery. We've been open 5 years. And what can I tell you? We make great beer.
It's been impressive to watch the growth of craft beer in the Charlotte area. It's just kind of gone exponential with the growth. It's fascinating to watch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's been fascinating to be here. We're probably the 32nd brewery that opened in the city, and they're pushing 90 now. So it's I thought we were the new guy, but now we're the old experienced brewery.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, 5 years ago we were at 5,000. Now we've surpassed 9,000. So growth is still happening. Now, Scott, while I've got you, today's conversation is about transforming your brewery into a destination. What would you simply define a destination as?
Well, first I would say we're already a destination.
I love it.
But second, what is a destination? Is a place you want to go, and a place that will have experiences that you'll enjoy and share and remember.
I like it. And everybody else, I'd love for you to hop in. Just give a brief definition of what you believe a destination is.
Yeah, so for us, we actually kind of capture it in our mission statement, which is, we combine a unique time, place, and people, to create our experiences and to give our guests, their moment.
Say Harvesters probably think about destinations a little differently. We think of the journey as the destination, to use the cliche, and try to connect folks with super cool places to stop along the way. Obviously, our members are out there on the road taking their summer road trip or traveling full time, and they're looking for places to stay each night. Sometimes stopping at campgrounds for longer periods, sometimes using Harvest Hosts for an overnight or stringing a couple of those overnights along. And I think our members look at the Harvest Hosts places they stay, like Cavendish and Jester King, as destinations, and really, really cool tentpole destinations that are part of their trips and some of the highlights of their travels. Certainly looking at the reviews for Scott and Jennifer's operations, they seem like amazing destinations, nothing but 5-star raving reviews about how awesome it is to come try the beers and check out the food on site and interact with other guests and customers. So that's how we think about destinations here at Harvest Host.
And Sash, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think also it's a great opportunity to, maybe if you live in the city, you get to go out more to stay at a farm, you get to see something different, or maybe you work at a brewery and you've never seen how a winemaker does that. So you get to really have these shared experiences where you're learning what other people's trades are like. And I think that can become part of the destination as well.
Absolutely. And let's get a little personal for a sec. We're going to dive into the beer world in just a moment. But for the four of you, what's your favorite destination? What's your favorite experience in the world? If you could hop on a plane, hop in an RV, and end up somewhere, tomorrow, where would you be?
Edinburgh, Scotland.
Oh, definitely a good place. What did you like so much about Scotland, Jennifer?
So obviously the weather is much more temperate than we have here in Austin, Texas. So that's like number one. But no, I'm a huge history nerd. So being able to walk around and look at buildings that are 1,000+ years old, the amount of history and culture, just present in your everyday life there, appeals to me a lot.
I love it. Yeah, Scotland's one of my favorite places to visit as well. It's been a while since I've been.
Yeah, I went while I was pregnant with my daughter in 2019, and it was amazing.
Anyone else? Favorite destination?
I'd say Bangkok and Thailand.
And Scott, what did you like so much about visiting?
Well, first, it's completely different. Second, the food is phenomenal. They don't actually have kitchens in their small apartments, so the whole culture is built around street food. And anyone who has a barbecue can put it on the street, and they make this one special thing that is amazing, and you just go perusing and grazing down the streets, eating everything, and phenomenal. And then there's all the culture as well, which is if you want to see temples, if you want to see 2,000-year-old whatever, it's all there. So just very interesting place to go.
Very cool. And Wes and Sash, I'd love to hear your personal favorites.
I've had a chance to go to Thailand, and I got to agree with Scott. The food is just out of this world. Every day was an amazing street food feast. So some Thai beer sprinkled in there as well. I'm sure, Scott, you did a bit of that as well. I'd say Paris is got to be one of my favorite destinations. I don't know what it is, but like the light's different, the energy's different. It's just everything's beautiful, and it's an amazing city to get lost in. And Again, the food scene, also pretty top notch, so hard to beat that. So I would put that up there as one of my favorite destinations for sure.
And last but not least, Sash.
I'm going to stay local. So my husband and I packed up our house and we live full time out of our RV and traveled the United States. And we saw so much across the whole country that we were like, we don't even have to leave here to see so much beauty and experience so much. So right here in our homeland, I would say.
So I held off on asking you earlier if you had an RV because I didn't want to get the West answer of you not having it. No offense,
I
Wes.
do.
But it sounds amazing that you do have one. So you travel across the country. What's been a highlight in your recent adventures?
I think just like we enjoy staying outside of the norm, not in a campground, maybe, off the beaten path a little bit. We like to do a lot of hiking. So it's fun to get out of the city and experience life kind of off the grid a little bit.
It's been really interesting to hear all of you speak of, what that perfect destination is for you. There's been beer, there's been food, there's been wine, there's been nature, there's been just unique experiences you can't get everywhere else. And I think that probably contributes to why all of you have tried to and are successfully creating these experiences at your places of work or helping breweries do the same. Now, Jennifer, I was on your website today and you have an amazing image. And this image is a map of your property. Can you tell me about what we find at Jester King?
Oh, okay. Well, we only have an hour, so I will keep it short. So we bought the full 165 acres in 2015, I believe. And then in 2018, we purchased the Inn, which is the part that I run. So what we have overall, we have 165 acres. That includes 3 different bars, basically a big pole barn for food. We have a herd of Nigerian dwarf goats. About 60 of those guys running around. We have an event hall on the back part of our property that manages weddings and concerts and other large events. In addition to the Inn, which hosts our smaller, more private and intimate, 25 to 50 events there. We have a 2.1 mile nature trail that goes around the edge of our property. We also have our vineyard. We've been, just getting Texas is a tough place to grow grapes, but we've been working on that. We also have a hop yard, and we grow our own CBD, Texas legal CBD. So we have a lot going on. We also grow some of our own fruit, like peaches. So basically, we're slowly growing working farm. We've been expanding our animal program. We've got some bunnies on site. Basically, so basically we have a little bit of everything. We have a new place being put in last summer, like I mentioned earlier, the Jesters. So basically a little bit of something for everyone.
Jennifer, your audio is going a little in and out right now.
Okay.
That's better.
Perfect.
No, it was fantastic stumbling upon that map because it really just shows the scope of the landscape you've created to make it a complete destination. And I thought it was fun that when I was looking at your Google reviews, like Wes was doing, number 1 is sour beers, but number 2, do you have any guesses? Do you know what number 2 is for mentions in your Google reviews?
I don't.
What would your guess be?
Oh, Lord. Probably the goats.
It was the goats. The goats have hundreds of mentions in your Google reviews.
Yeah, they are definitely a crowd favorite. We do a thing in the spring called Doom Metal Goat Yoga when the babies are born. So basically baby goat yoga. But all year round, we do experiences. People get to go on goat walks, learn not only about our herd, but about general care and feeding of goats and how to keep those kind of herds healthy. So we have an amazing farm team that manages all of that.
Awesome. Scott, let's talk about your brewery for a second. For Cavendish Brewing, obviously beer is the anchor of our industry. You got to make great beer. But looking at the experience, what do guests who come to your tap room, what's it like?
It's a very different experience other than being awesome, right? We're about 20 miles outside of Charlotte in really a suburban. It's still city, right? We're in a small satellite city around Charlotte. And we basically purchased the entire block of downtown, and that became the home of the brewery. I wish we had goats. We do have my one employee that has goats, and they've been here once, but I never tried yoga with them. But they're cute. I will say that, claim to fame, our building in 1952 was a Studebaker dealership, and where they built old cars. And we have the original architect's rendering on the wall with all the old cars parked around the showroom, which is now the tap room. And then the big mechanic shop behind it is the brew house. And that's a lot of old buildings and old building problems that eventually resulted in us turning into a brewery with all the heavy duty floors and garage doors and the extra height for big beer tanks, 3-phase power, and all the fun stuff. But now, as far as claim to fame, I would say the beer is amazing. We have a pretty avid following for good beer. When I opened the place, and even today, we specialize in old world styles. So Belgian, German, and British beers. And it just seems like everyone else makes an IPA now, and like 12 of them. We make very good IPAs, but we also make all those other things that people forgot. And so, it's a good following. Beyond beer, it's as far as what makes it a fun place to be is number one is the people, right? It's family friendly. We have little couches set up in like living rooms in the tap rooms with Wii's and PlayStations for all the kids to play, and the kids go play, and the parents have a beer, and maybe they get together and play cornhole or pool or something, and then maybe they go their separate ways and each get some time apart. It's very much known as a very family friendly atmosphere where everyone can have a good time. Even my own kids will come to work with me and not complain too much. And then beyond that, of course, is the pizza. We make amazing pizzas on top with our 800-degree artisan oven. So beer, pizza, and people, and that's what our place is.
I read a quote in an article about you all a while back, and it pretty much mentioned it felt like hanging out in your living room, but not having to do the cleanup.
Yep.
Which I think everybody likes that. That's one reason we go out. We go out for a different experience, that we don't want to make that mess in our home and have someone else's delicious food, delicious pizza, enjoy their space, which is always nice.
Yeah, and you can get food and drink anywhere, but I think what people really want is the experience. So you like going places where you meet people and have good conversations and you feel welcome, and you go back to those places. And that's
absolutely. Now, Wes and Sash, both of you interact with so many different breweries and wineries. Are there any themes you see with regard to the businesses that you work with?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it might be worthwhile to just take 2 seconds to explain our program for folks that don't fully understand it. And Jennifer and Scott are both on our network, which is amazing. So we're a membership program. We have over 200,000 RVers that pay $99 a year to access our network. And our network is almost 4,000 host locations. And these host locations are small businesses, farms, including almost 500 breweries. We've got a couple hundred wineries, over 1,300 farms, museums, random outdoor activity centers, et cetera. So folks can travel around the country in their RV. They have to have a self-contained RV with a toilet, bring their own power, bring their own water, et cetera. And then they can stay at these host locations. So stay at these almost 4,000 locations just for a single night. And all they require is a place to park. So piece of gravel, piece of dirt, asphalt, whatever you have, right? Something level-ish. No hookups required, no water required, no electric required. And then these folks, and they're amazing people. Our members they're the best. Super interesting folks, super friendly. And they're also on vacation looking to have a good time. And so they stay one night for free at these host locations. In exchange, they patronize the business. Average member spending $50 a night, and that's on average. A lot of folks are spending a lot more, coming in, dropping a couple $100. Supporting the local business, getting to know the owners and host, which is, I think, the most surprising thing I've noticed over the years is a lot of hosts join for the revenue and the marketing and exposure to this, couple 100,000 folks looking for breweries and wineries and farms to visit. And then you talk to them and they say that far and away the people are their favorite part. And it's just a super interesting crowd, and they've got stories, and they're down to earth, and they're excited to be there and patronizing the business, and really happy to see America that way and to travel the world that way. So I think that's what our host would say. Hopefully, that's what you guys would say as well about the program. It's just it's an interesting business proposition, but it's also a really interesting community of folks that are just out there having a good time, meeting new people, and enjoying this community of travelers and hosts.
And Jennifer, you have such a beautiful grounds, and you have an inn, you have cabins, you have camping. I'd love to learn a little bit more about your experience so far with Harvest Hosts.
Yeah, so we actually just joined earlier this year, and it was a recommendation from one of the other members of our leadership team that's a member and travels and was pretty familiar with the platform. We have had nothing but good experiences with the Harvest Host guest. So we only offer 5 spaces a night. We have basically a gravel parking lot that's pretty level, so we have them down there. And I mean, we've had just great experiences. They talk to our staff. Our staff is very knowledgeable about our different beers and everything. And so the reviews we get from the members is that, they really enjoy our staff. They enjoy our grounds. They enjoy the goats. And from our side, they're comparatively to our other guests that stay, incredibly low maintenance. So, that part's really lovely. Shout out to Wes and Sash, the website itself and platform all work really, really well. I manage most of the stuff from my cell phone. So that's really nice. And like I said, the guests are probably my favorite part.
Awesome. Now you have a beautiful grounds. And Scott, I've never been to Charlotte area, North Carolina, but I imagine it's a little more urban. Correct me if I'm wrong, than potentially where Jennifer is out in Texas. What's the environment like? Yeah, that's correct. So how does Harvest Host play out when people come in their RVs for your facility?
It's a little bit different being in a city environment. We provide, all the great parts of a place to go and food and people and a good experience. For us, probably the big detractor is the fact there's a city there. And you occasionally have to deal with city crap, like, a homeless guy walking by, or, somebody that doesn't make, maybe, I think over the years we've had one person knock on somebody's RV door and ask for food, in a couple of years that will happen in the city. Mostly though, it's a safe experience. But the problems that you see are the problems that affect everywhere in the country. And you benefit by being out in the country where, maybe you don't see homeless people, but unfortunately that exists, and we just have to work around it.
And when the guests come to your brewery, Scott, what are some of the things they get excited about that may be different from, say, visiting Jester King? But I imagine, Wes and Sash, a lot of people on the Harvest Host Network for the host side, are more destination based, like more a little remote in the country, off the beaten path. If I'm wrong, correct me on that one. So I'd love to hear, Scott, your thoughts on how the experience is a little bit different.
Yeah, I think there may be a more functional aspect of it where, grandparents are going to see their kids 6 states away, or they're going to see a race in Florida, or they're crossing country, and we're on a major interstate in a major city. So their plan is just a cheap place to stay on the way, and then they end up getting surprised with a really great experience. So there's a functional aspect, but we've been a good. I mean, you guys have the numbers, but we've been a good enough stop that people come and they specifically come back to stay with us on the return trips or on future trips, and we end up with a lot of repeat or people that stay with us.
It's always nice to have a familiar face come by. That's amazing. I like hearing that. Now, we've talked a lot about just how the general facilities impact someone's experience, but I'd love to hear, and Jennifer, you touched on it a little bit, about the events, the activities that you have. What are some of the strategies that's helped you with successful event planning, whether it's, say a one-off concert or simply doing, having video games available for Scott to play? What are some of the successful strategies you've had for creating those successful activities or events?
Yeah, so for us, we realized about a year ago that our marketing dollars can only go so far, and and getting the word out to people is definitely one of our biggest challenges. And the way we came up to solve that, without taking on a bunch of extra expenses, was to go through programming and to start adding these events and experiences to what we were already doing. And we've always had a few big events every year. We do. Doom Forge, which is our heavy metal day where we release our stouts. Our spawn days are always really popular when we're, because that's not something you get to see a lot in America. And then, but we started adding on to that, with weekly, Scott, I saw on your website that you guys do this too with trivia, bingo nights. We add a 2-step night, and then also specialty programming for holidays. So for like Labor Day, we're going to do a kite festival. So just kind of trying to diversify the different groups we want to pull in. We have a run club and a cycling club, really trying to just cast the net as broad as we can without sacrificing quality of what we're trying to do.
You have mentioned a lot of kinds of events, Jennifer. How many people are helping out with the production of these?
Yeah, so we actually run pretty lean on that side. All of our staff gets in and helps run the day of. And we employ, if I remember the numbers right, about 65 people total. So we're not a large company by any means. Our event team specifically is around, I believe, 4 to 10 people, depending on time of year. But we also have a public events manager, a private events manager, director of events. So we do put a lot of resources into that side.
And looking at these events, it takes a lot of people in a lot of different departments to make them come together. How are you passing along information to everyone so that when event day comes, they know their role and where they need to be, what they need to do? Any tips for communication?
Yeah, so we've always taken a kind of a top-down effect on communication. We trust our department heads. We put the right people in the right seats, and then make sure that they are empowered to be able to do what they need to do. So, we meet every week to go through, here's what the events are happening. We get nitty gritty on the details of this is how many people are going to be there. This is what their roles are. And then we let those department heads kind of design out and do the nitty gritty of the details from there.
Awesome. Now, Scott, I'd love to hear about some of the events that you're doing and any tips you have for making things go smooth and just kind of creating that community vibe you've talked about.
Yeah. So I guess as we started out, we didn't really know what events to have, so we really spitballed things and threw it against the wall and saw what stuck. 5 years later, we have a pretty good idea what works. Events like music bingo on Friday nights are probably, people be falling out the doors and 50-year-olds dancing on tables, and it gets ridiculous. Typically live music once a week on Saturdays. We don't have goats, but we have yoga by the tanks, and we'll actually open the brew house out and let people do their yoga by the big beer tanks. And it's amazing how they can do those poses and still drink their beer at the same time. We also became famous early on for nerd events because we're all pretty nerdy, eclectic people. We've had Doctor Who events where we rented the TARDIS and brought it into the brew house. We've had Monty Python events with people in armor and vicious rabbits and argument booths. We've had Game of Thrones events. We've had Star Wars and Star Trek mixers where your Klingons can meet your Wookiee, and we've had people, our Harry Potter events are pretty big. We actually brew butterbeer at the brewery once a year. And we'll have people drive from Atlanta, and because we'll bring in a wizard rock band, and everybody can wear their house colors and compare their frogs to their pet rats, and so it just makes it a very interesting place, and it's amazing how many interesting people we have out there.
You had me at Wizard Rock Band. What was the name of that group?
Gosh.
I know I put you on the spot, but I figured it has to be something just spectacular.
Oh, it is. The Blibbering Humdingers.
That is definitely a good one. Have you done a beer in their honor yet? Any collabs?
Not yet, but I know what it's called. They're probably on their biggest hits is the song called the Hufflepuff Sandwich. So anyway.
I'm sure that's a great time for everybody who attends that event.
Yeah.
And a lot of things you and Jennifer have referenced are, events that not just you are doing internally, but you're working with partners outside of your brewery. And Wes and Sash, I'd love your feedback on this because there's so many aspects that go into a partnership. So for all of you, whether you're looking to partner with a brewery who's interested in being a host, or Jennifer and Scott, if you're looking to partner with a Wizard rock band, or, vetting the right goats to come to yoga on Sunday, how do you find the right partners to work with? Any tips that you've experienced that have been valuable?
I think on our side, we're looking for folks that are intellectually curious and looking to bring value to their members or their organization, open to new ideas. I always say that we're not a particularly complex program, but we're highly unique. And so people with an open mind of like, hey, that would be kind of cool to try a little extra business and bring in some RV travelers and hear their stories and fill up some off nights, get some passive marketing out of it, but also just do something different, be open to trying things. I think that's kind of the foundation, is just that level of trust and everybody looking for ways to add value in creative manners.
No, that's a great explanation. Jennifer, how about you? When you're looking for partners, whether it's maybe a community organization, music, how are you seeking them out and how are they finding you?
Yeah, so we pretty much focus on hyper local as much as we can when it comes to partnerships. The same way that our community has lifted us up in the last 10 years, we want to do the same thing for other small businesses. So we look for people who kind of match our, I'm blanking on the word, but basically our mission, our goals and values, so people who really care about sustainability and being able to, our goal is that all of our people will still have jobs in 10 years, so we look for people who are looking for that same kind of longevity, but also bring a complement to our business and we can complement theirs.
Are there ever times when you tell someone who approaches you about doing an event that you feel it may not be a good fit?
Absolutely.
How do you handle something so hard like that?
Honestly, I farm it out to our director of events because she's way better at that than I am. But it's you have to grow a little bit of a thick skin because you do have to protect your brand. You have to protect, what you're doing. And I think that kind of gives you a pathway to say like, hey, this isn't the right fit for us right now. But, we always try to offer people like, hey, why don't you look at this, and be as helpful as we can.
I like that approach. Scott, how about you? How do you find perfect community partners?
Usually drinking beer at the bar and talking to people. It's amazing that everyone's into something. People make things, they have hobbies, they're artists, they have bands, they have passions, they have charities. Usually just conversation leads people down a path and then you start talking to, hey, can we throw a pride party at the brewery next month? Like, all right, and then you go down the path and I found that like Jennifer, I'm a big proponent of lifting everybody up and letting people showcase their wares and the brewery, I provide free space to anyone who wants to sell their products. We'll have artist fairs and 20 different artists showcasing things, or the people who make their own homemade pickles or woodworking or Harry Potter memorabilia or pet frogs, whatever it might be. It's always interesting. It's interesting to our guests and all the people creating these things need a venue to showcase them and just I find as much as I don't worry about event space because they probably drink and eat enough to pay for their booth anyway, and they make it more interesting for all involved.
Awesome. I've got a follow-up for you, Scott. So in a past life, I was a concert promoter and I would have concerts that I would put on. Sometimes the band would bring 20 people. Sometimes the band would bring, 900 people. How do you evaluate the success of a partnership, whether it's an event or just, having a vendor out and watching how much they spend? How are you looking at these relationships and judging whether or not, I'll invite that person back, or maybe we shouldn't do this one again?
Yeah. It's a cost benefit analysis. With bands is probably one of the most difficult cases where you spend hundreds of dollars in a band and sometimes they bring just one girlfriend, or or sometimes, and really traveling bands in particular, don't generally bring anybody, is what we found out. And local bands that have a local following are generally a better bet. And even then, some acts have no marketing at all, and they just expect to play for people, versus people that actually do put an effort and bring 20 people with them, which for a brewery or bar is much easier to pay for because you brought some income for a change. So, it's definitely important for folks to market their own things. And, bands that bring 30 people, they come back. And brands that don't, well, might not be the right place. So, Harvest Host has been a good relationship for us. We've provided a free place to stay and a great experience for a lot of folks. And they've provided us with customers that drink a lot and then go sleep it off in their RV. So that's worked out really well, and I can't say enough good things about the program. And and it's very hard sometimes. Most folks approach a brewery wanting free beer. That's number one. And come support our event for exposure. Well, as we all know, exposure doesn't pay many bills. So, we just have to take a look at every case and, okay, well, how does that help? We understand what we have to bring in, but how does that help us in our long-term growth and plan as well? And is it fair?
Thanks for sharing that. Jennifer, I'd love to hear your perspective on metrics used to judge success of a partnership.
Yeah, not much different from Scott. A lot of them are cost benefit analysis. Sometimes we bring stuff back just because we had so much fun with it. But, I would have to say he hit the nail on the head with, again, if you're bringing in a band, and they bring their own following, they're much more likely to come back. Than if we found the same thing with traveling bands. And we do our program a little bit differently. So we do live music at the brewery 5 days a week. And that's free for everyone. But we also do ticketed concerts of a couple of different sizes. So like at the end, as I mentioned before, that's kind of our private, intimate venue. We only sell 75 to 100 tickets max. Most of the time, it's more like 30 to 40. And we bring in local singers and songwriters, to help them kind of boost themselves. And then in our, larger event space, we do still mostly local, but bigger bands. We have a one this Friday of our summer sessions. And those are a little bit more VIP. We do food in addition to beer and cocktails, and those are much higher, much more promoted. We sink a little more money into those.
You're on mute, Andrew.
I don't normally make that mistake, so thanks for calling me out, Scott. We're even now. So Wes and Sash, looking at your relationship with breweries and wineries across the country, looking at the metrics that you judge success, what do you want to see with regard to a relationship with a host?
Yeah, I'll start by this, and we don't charge our host anything to be part of the program. Jennifer and Scott, they don't give us any part of their sales. They don't pay any annual fee. There's no commitment. We don't require exclusivity. So we're truly huge advocates for local businesses and local communities. And, you guys talk about hyper local, and we're supporting that, albeit, one step removed. In terms of what we're looking for in terms of success, I think it's just providing great experience. Some hosts have thousands of visitors a year. Some have dozens. Those are both making an equal impression on the folks that stay there. And so as long as they're providing an amazing experience, and that experience does not necessarily have to be a ton of different things or nonstop programming, but it's more of authenticity and just giving folks a true glimpse into what you do, sharing your craft and your trade, a level of hospitality. That's kind of how we measure it at its base level. And I think our members agree because they're super happy, satisfaction. And with our program, with all the hosts as part of the program, is through the roof. I was just reading some of y'all's reviews. They're amazing, and it's indicative of the entire network. So that's kind of how I think about the metrics there. Sash, I'll let you chime in as well, of course.
On top of I feel like the experience is the biggest part in learning the trade. Like they don't typically have these opportunities where they can learn how beer is brewed or see what a tap room looks like or, behind the scenes more. So I think not that everyone has to provide that, but those who do have the opportunity to do so, it provides such a great, valuable experience.
And I think just one last thing, staying on site, you get a little more of that after hours exposure. The bar room's wrapping up and you're just walking to your RVs. So you tend to have maybe a beer with the owners or the folks working there. And it just becomes a very authentic and genuine connection as a result of kind of how it's all structured.
I couldn't agree more, Wes. And as someone who likes to travel a lot, I always love the places I can stay on site. The only thing now I need is an RV to make that happen. But you're right. It results in more intimate connections. And, looking at the word destination, I think destination often implies that people are traveling there. Would you all agree to that? Perhaps we can debate it too. That's the part of the conversation, So when you say, someone may travel to your brewery, to your winery, to your destination, whatever that may be, how do you market to people and how do you get them to travel that distance to come see you wherever you may be?
I think step one is making really great quality beer. I think that if you don't have that, people are going to know that, and they're not going to spend the time, the money, or the effort to come see you. I think that's number one. I think, beyond that, it's it is the hospitality. It's having staff and having a place where people want to come and see you. We are a destination brewery, but I would say we're probably 70-30 locals versus, people actually traveling to see us.
Scott, how about you?
A little different. We're in a city, and not many people really want to travel to suburbia in some other city. So most people are on their way somewhere else doing, whatever life mission or family visit or travel or whatever it might be. But our key is to be a place worth stopping. And give such a good experience that they can't wait to come back. And we routinely have our Harvest Host friends say that the nicest place, despite being in the city, just people, pizza, food, beer, dogs, my disco ball, which I have in the brew house with lasers, it's a fun place. And we just make it a place that, you could stop at the Holiday Inn down the road, or you could stop here and have a great time.
Now, Jennifer and Scott, are you actively marketing outside of initiatives like Harvest Host to people outside of your general area?
You first.
Yeah. I'm like, we do a significant amount of marketing. Can you maybe clarify that question a little bit, as far as our lodgings, or as far in what way?
Yeah, so often we just market to those within the first few miles around a brewery, whether you're in a city or whether you're in a more destination-based location. But are you actively marketing to travelers? Are you actively marketing to people, say, greater than 25 miles outside of where you may be? Or a lot of times, maybe this comes organically just through word of mouth. People.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is we have a not entirely worldwide, but definitely a UK, Germany. We have a lot of places that carry our beer. We just China. So people hear about us from that on a much broader scale. But I would say a very significant amount of our marketing is targeted locally.
Yeah. Your local community is going to be the ones that make or break you, and other people stopping in are going to stop somewhere. So we have a loyal local following, and we take very good care of them and make it a place that they're proud of. But I've tried every possible type of marketing after 5 years that I can think of, besides smoke signals, and I'd try it. And, social media doesn't really get a whole lot of bang for the buck for what I think goes into it. I've tried paper, I've tried TV, I've tried, interesting events. I think, probably the best that bang for buck I've ever got out of marketing is I purchased a sign on the interstate, and just people coming through town that, oh, there's a brewery a mile off the way, and it just routinely brings me a customer every day. And most methods of marketing, you spend a lot of money and you don't actually get any proof of any return in any way.
That's really interesting because I've heard of some breweries doing billboards on the side of the road with 0 results, but it's great based off your location. That's actually a method that works for you. So it's interesting to see how marketing varies across locations based on so much criteria.
Yeah, it's not a billboard per se. It's the little food gas signs that you see. We have one for an attraction for the city, who didn't have an attraction, and essentially we give tours, and that's the attraction.
I like that a lot. So I guess at what point in your thinking, Scott, did you become more than a brewery? Was there that tipping point where you wanted to become that attraction versus just being a place people could have a beer?
I look at this place as, I'm a home brewer where my hobby got out of hand, and now consumes my life and most of my life savings. I don't know. I've evolved a lot on, we're going to make beer and that's all we're going to worry about. Well, turns out there's a lot more to this than that. There's community and there's relationships and there's distribution and sales and marketing and online presences and and just it goes on and on and on. I'm originally Canadian, and which is my brewery colors happen to be red and white, just saying. I just want this to be the friendliest place people have ever been, and it just kind of takes a life on its own from there.
And Jennifer, you all have obviously been around for quite some time, recognized for your good beer. You have that great destination vibe going on already. What's next? Is there anything planned for the roadmap to Jester King to make it an even greater destination?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are really bad at resting on our laurels. We've got a lot of things in the works. We're going to be expanding our platescape. We are in the process of kind of adding a food truck park to our kind of our main area with our own food and beer. At the end, we're actually opening for breakfast next month. So kind of attempting to capture people in the morning, have a few mimosas, have some breakfast tacos. When the brewery opens, head over there, to go see the goats, do live music, really trying to make an all-day experience. Beyond that, we do want to expand our camping, keep adding on to the farming aspects. We tried to get a pumpkin patch going this year, but that might have to wait till next year. So we definitely continually try to build on what we've already done. And also keep investing into our land. One of the things I really wanted to call out is that in this year, we took over processing all of our wastewater, which from a sustainability aspect and from a, ability for growth is a huge mile marker for us.
No, I love that mission. And so Wes and Sash, looking at your plan for the future, how do you hope to help breweries on a greater scale?
Yeah, one, we'd love to get more breweries on the network. We got 400 or 500, and there's only 9,000 in the States. So we're excited to get more and more breweries. I think this year has shown that we just got to get our name out there, and it's been great partnering with folks like you, Andrew, and your organization, as well as other folks in the brewery space, because we do believe we're truly a win-win organization. And so we want to keep growing our membership base, which in turn supports small businesses. This year, I think we're projected to pump $40 million back into local businesses. I want to take that to $100 million in a couple of years. Again, we don't take a dime of that. And so these help support Scott's home brewing activity gone wild, and Jennifer's plans to expand. And hopefully we can, be a small piece of that story and help create some fun money to do these really, really interesting things in the brewery space and other industries as well.
Now, for everyone here today, we're all obviously passionate about creating experiences and transforming a space into a destination. If there's a brewery just starting out or, who's focused historically on the beer, they make great beer, but they're looking to take it to the next level, what would you say they need to be doing right now? Is there that one action item or tip that's really helped you along the way that you'd like to pass along to another business?
Scott, you want to go first?
The best advice for breweries specifically, or anybody?
Brewery specific. We'd love to keep it in the industry right now.
I mean, the best piece of advice was given to me as it was given to the people before me when asked about starting a brewery, and that was don't. uh, and they were right. It turns out to be a lot harder and more expensive, and it will consume your every living moment for the next, so far 6 years. So, but do it because you love it, not because it's going to make you any money.
Yeah, I would entirely agree with that. The margins aren't great in our industry, but everyone who's in it tends to be very passionate about what we do. For us, I would say if someone's looking to take their brewery and head towards being a destination, you don't have to have all the stuff that we have. You don't have to have 165 acres. You don't. It's about connecting with your community and connecting with people and deciding what kind of experiences you want to create. Like I said, we lean pretty heavily on our programming, but all of it is designed to connect with people.
I like it. No, Wes and Sash, anything else you'd like to throw out there from your experiences just interacting with so many breweries and wineries?
Sash, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just taking that small step. I mean, Jester King, you guys have 5 RBers a night. For us, we only require 1 to be able to start on the program, and you could do it 1 night a week if you wanted. So that's a good place to start, is just a couple of nights a week with 1 RV, and you can, scale it up from there. But it doesn't have to be a big lift or anything big and scary to step into. And I would say that applies to all the things that you're trying to bring to your brewery. Start with 1 night of trivia, or start with 1 night of live music, and work your way into a full scale event schedule. But just taking that 1 step to start is probably the best place.
And Wes?
Yeah, I think just keep doing what you're doing. Like the collegiality and the enthusiasm and the energy coming from the brewery space is amazing. Going to these events and conferences and meeting and talking to our brewery host, it's just super fun to be connected to this industry. You guys are doing wild and crazy stuff and super creative things to connect folks and connect people with your beers and your business, and it's fun to be a part of the ride. So keep doing what you're doing. I love hearing things like yoga in 2 forms and all the different programming you guys are putting on. It's amazing for our members to be able to experience that when they're on the road traveling, kind of stumble into these amazing events and activities and have a great time doing it. So thank you for all you guys are doing in the brewery space.
And Wes, for any breweries interested in being a host, where can they learn more?
Yeah, go to harvesthost.com. It's host with an S. And there's a tab on there called Become a Host. Just fill out the form and we'll get in touch with you. You're happy to talk to our team and we can answer questions. Or if you're ready to sign up, just go ahead and fill out your application. We'll get you live on the network. Would love to keep growing the brewery space. It's such an amazing industry and so fun to be associated with.
Indeed. And Jennifer, for anyone looking to experience virtually the Jester King space, where's the best place to get a little inspiration?
Yeah, our website at jesterkingbrewery.com really is pretty robust. It talks about everything from all of our beers, our food, our experiences, our events. It's a really great place to really dig into all the spaces we have and see what might interest them to come out and experience with us.
Very cool. And Scott, for people looking to learn more about your brewery or connect with you, where can they do so?
Well, the best way to do it's in person. Belly up to the bar and get a beer.
I love it.
And talk to the locals. Go take a look at the big tanks. It's open for people to come look at, and just get the full experience.
And Sash, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so. We're just glad to be here today.
Well, I appreciate all of you. Wes, Jennifer, Sash, Scott. It's been really fun having a conversation about, the unique partnership Harvest Host has with breweries and just the general importance of creating overall experiences. There's been so many mentions of community today. I think that's why we all go to the breweries, like Scott just said, to get belly up to the bar, to meet some people over the shared love of craft beer, to see something and experience something new. So I appreciate all of you. Have a wonderful rest of the day and see you soon. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.